Hello everybody, my name's Alicia. Today we're going to be attempting to make these stays. They're 18th century stays, I believe. I'm going to take this pattern out. I'm going to go cut out the pattern pieces for the size 22 just because my measurements are a little bigger than the size 22, but since it stays, I'm going to see if that works out. More than likely I will have to make another pair. That's why we're doing a mock-up, and I'll probably have to look up some videos on YouTube on how to size up the pattern and make my own custom size. But I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna cut out the pattern and then I'm going to cut out the fabric. I'll probably do a little speed run of me cutting out the fabric, and then I guess we'll get sewing. Okay, so I've read the instructions and it pretty much just states to pin all the pieces to each other and then sew them together, or baste them together, it says, but I'm just going to sew them together because this is instructions for if you have interlining, and I'm not going to be doing interlining. I'm just going to be sandwiching my cable ties between two pieces of muslins just for a mock-up, because I've never done this and I'm pretty sure it's going to go horribly wrong once I start putting this together and it's not going to fit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this pile over there and start trying to pin it together and get it sewn down, which is probably going to take me forever because I have my nails done and I normally don't get my nails done, but I was on vacation so I wanted to look cute and now I can't officially do anything with myself. So that is what I'm going to do. Once I get it all pinned up and moved to the sewing machine, I will bring you back. Okay, first I'm gonna baste all of the pieces together. I have both sides of the pattern pieces. I'm just gonna baste them together, that way they don't shift around when I start to piece them together. Okay, the next step says to turn the back edge inside along the fold line, forming a facing, and then stitch facing 1/2 inch from the folded edge. So I've done the first one, so let's do the second one. So we're just taking the piece and this line right here, we're gonna fold over. Let me remove this pin because it's in the way. We're gonna fold over at that line. And I noticed on the first one, when I folded it over, it kind of met up with one of the lines of the bony channels. So I've been just using that line and checking to make sure it's still folding on that that line that we first saw. So hopefully that's right. Seems to be working out for me. Let me make sure I'm still lining up. Yeah. I picked up 2 pins. I really need to take these nails off. I am not that much of a girly girl, but since we went on vacation, I wanted to look nice. But now I can't function. But I'm trying to use them to grow up my own nails. That's why I've had them on for so long and haven't taken them off, because as soon as I take them off, my real nails will break immediately. I've tried doing the biotin pills and all that, but nothing works for me. So the acrylic keeps them sturdy for now. All right, let's see. Oh yes. So now we're going to stitch 1/2 inch from the folded edge. So from here, 1/2 inch in, we're gonna stitch. Let me turn some of my pins around because I put them in backwards. All right. Now, I'm just lining up the edge of my fabric with the 1/2 inch mark on my sewing machine. That way I sort of try to keep a straight line. I'm new at this, so it's probably not going to stay straight, but that's my best attempt. And put the needle down. Let's go. First I'm gonna back stitch just to lock this stitch in to the edge, and then we're gonna go. And then we're gonna back stitch at this edge also. Sorry if you can hear that in the background. That's my wash machine. It's loud as crap. And I'm trying to multitask and do laundry at the same time. Alright, I'm gonna do the other one, and then I'll be back. Okay, next it says to also sew 1/2 inch from the previous sewn stitch. So I guess we're making the boning channels that we just covered up. So I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but in there were 2 other boning channels, but when we folded over, we covered those up. So now we're forming them again. I want to take a peek at the next instructions. Stitch along the broken lines for all section 40. Okay, so it also says to, on the next instruction, to also stitch along all the broken lines, or in my case solid lines because I drew it in with pencil, to form all the other boning channels. So we're pretty much just going to stitch 1/2 inch away from each previous stitch and do all of our boning channels before we proceed to stitch our panels together. So let's get started with that. Alright, so I'm going to line up my previous mark with the 1 inch mark, which will give me a 1/2 inch buffer. I hope. Well, no, I should say I'm gonna line up the edge of my pattern piece with the 1 inch mark to give me a 1/2 inch buffer, because if I line up my stitch line, it'll give me a whole inch, and I don't want a whole inch, I just want a 1/2 inch. So let's line it up, drop the needle, back stitch, and then sew. Probably should have pressed this before I started sewing it so it lay nicely, but I'm a little too far in now. Plus this is only a mock-up, just to make sure the pattern pieces fit me the way I want. Since I've never really sewn anything at all, let alone a corset or stays, definitely want to do a test run so that I can get out all my kinks and quirks and mess ups before I cut out my real fabric. We're going to back stitch again, and there's another channel, which to me looks a lot straighter than my first one. So apparently I'm getting better at this. A little bit. I doubt by much. But all improvements are good improvements. Okay. Now let's line up. Let's get rid of some of these frays first. Now let's line up my first stitch with the 1 inch mark, or the edge with the 1.5, so that I can start doing the next channels. And I'm going to keep doing that until I pretty much run out of markers, and then I'm going to be pretty much just sewing on my lines to try to guide myself so I stay sewing straight. Okay, let me make sure that I am on the mark. Drop my foot, back stitch, and rinse and repeat. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue doing all of these on both panels, and I'll get back to you. Okay, now that we've sewn all of the bony channels into all of our panels, we can start piecing them together. The instructions say, with the right sides together, stitch the center front seam of the front sections, matching notches, stitch side front to each side of front, matching notches, stitch side back to back, matching notches. Pretty much stitch all the pieces together, following the notches. That way we can have half of our corset. I've already done one side to save time, but now we're just going to find our first piece, which is right here, and find the side that matches the notches, which is right there. Make sure they're right sides together. I'm sorry if you can hear my dishwasher running in the back. I am sewing on my dining table, so it's really close to the kitchen and you can hear literally everything. But I don't have a craft room, so gotta make ends work with what you got. So we're just gonna pin the pieces together, lining up the edges, lining up the notches first. And then I'll get the machine ready and we'll start stitching down with 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, we're gonna line our panel up with the 5/8 of an inch mark. Drop the presser foot, drop the needle, back stitch a little bit, and then sew. Then at the end, we're going to back stitch and then go forward to lock that in. And we're just going to do that to all of the pieces. And now we have our full corset panel for the side. Now all we have to do is add some of the cable ties that I got from Home Depot. This is what the pack looks like. I got the heavy duty cable ties. Okay, now that we have our stays sewn all the way together, we're going to insert our cable ties, or at least I'm going to insert the cable ties now before I do the, what are the things called? Eyelet holes, just so I can get an idea of what it's actually really going to look like. I'm not putting all of them in. I'm just pretty much putting the cable ties in like every other boning channel, because one, I don't have enough, and two, I don't want it to be crazy heavy when I'm sewing the eyelet holes. I just want to get a test feel of how it's going to work. That way when I go to put it on to see how it'll fit, it actually has some bones in it, and I can get a better representation of what it's going to fit like and what I have to alter and or not alter at all. So you just take a cable tie. If you get the ones like I have, it has a really big nub at the top. I face that forward so it's not pressing against you once you actually try it on. That won't really matter when you're making your final pair of stays, just because you'll cut that off. But for right now, just face it forward so that the flat side goes against the skin, and you just slide them in between the two pieces that we've been sewing together. And that's about it for right there. And then in a little while, when I find something nice on TV to watch, I will start on the boning channels. I mean, not the boning channels, the eyelet holes, because I'm gonna attempt to do those by hand just so I can see how that works out, and if that's something that I want to do, or if I'm gonna just go buy some eyelet kits or something like that, just to save myself some time and sanity. I'm probably gonna have to look up an actual mini tutorial on how to do that, because I have no clue whatsoever on how to do that. Granted, I have no clue how to do stays either, but we seem to be doing them. And it's not been terribly difficult. I feel like the only thing that's been difficult so far is learning to sew straight and trying to record it so that everybody can see what you're doing. And not sounding like a complete imbecile, which I'm pretty sure I do. That's okay. I'm learning. I'm new to YouTube, new to recording, new to stay making, new to sewing, new to everything. We're learning together. No, that one doesn't go there because that's where the eyelet holes will go. So one on either side of the eyelet holes. And then I have one extra, which we're just going to shove right here. Here, yeah. And that's what it looks like so far. I think I did a pretty decent job. My stitches need a little bit of work, but whatever. Alright, let me go look up a YouTube video on how to do eyelet holes, and I will get back to you guys.